I'm Natalie Davison, and welcome to this week's episode of Meet Me in Moncton. If you have ever watched the show instead of just listening, you've probably been really struck by the stunning art on our set. And that art is the work of local artist and just amazing all-around human, Jared Betts. It's from the Cyberpunk Kawaii collection, fantasy collection. I'm gonna say that again. This work is from the Cyberpunk Kawaii Fantasy Collection, and it is a mix of silkscreen and acrylic paint. Jared Betts is like nobody else, a professional artist, a painter, an abstract painter, founder of Moncton Taco Week, and the keeper of the Shediac Lobster. I cannot wait to introduce you to my wonderful friend. Come on up, Jared Betts! Let's go! Have a seat. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Jared doesn't loan paintings, if anybody's interested, unless you'll deal your old peonies. So I dug up some peonies in my garden, and Jared saw this on Instagram and said, where are they gonna go live? And I said, they could go live at your house. And so last night he said, the only reason I'm loaning you this painting is because you're dealing me peonies. And then went back to dinner with his friends and texted me after and said, my friends are so confused. They're like, wait, so this woman's a realtor who barters with peonies, and you're going on her talk show in front of your painting? And I was like, yeah, and if my friends asked me about you, it would be like, wait, so your friend's a professional artist whose paintings are featured all over the world in private and exhibit collections, and the founder of Moncton Taco Week, and the keeper of the Shediac Lobster? And I'm like, yeah, yes. And he also deals in peonies. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So obviously everybody's got a lot of questions about what you do, but I was really hoping we could talk a little bit about, I like to ask people when they came to Moncton, but you were born here, right? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about kind of like, a lot of people know your family around Moncton. Talk a little bit about that, growing up in Moncton as a Betts.
So I was born in Moncton, but simultaneously in a parallel universe as well.
Okay, good.
That's where all my abstract wild colors come from.
Amazing.
But yeah, I grew up in Moncton with the Betts family. We were also singers as a young family. I've been in different bands, jazz bands. My dad has directed lots of different bands, and all of my family plays music and does art as well. Yeah.
Very cool. And well, I'm always so curious when I find someone who grows up and has the courage to become an artist, because I do think it's a really courageous path, and I think that it requires a lot of confidence and belief. And I've spent a lot of time trying to understand how to be more creative myself. And there's a lot of shame when people want to bring ideas forward and tell stories in interesting ways. So how do you feel that like growing up in a creative family prepared you for this career?
Yeah, it's been really incredible. I've been very fortunate to travel all around the world with my art. And it's a wild fantasy life, really. Like some years I'm in Tokyo, London, Paris. I've been so fortunate. I'm so grateful to have this path. My parents have always been so supportive, and my brother and sister too. Yeah, it's just been magical.
So when did you know that you wanted when did you know you wanted to become a painter, for example? You were raised in a creative family, or were you just making music? When were you like, yeah, but this?
My favorite classes in school were recess and art. So that was pretty much the deciding factors.
Pretty
like
obvious.
You could be, it was like between art or farming.
Right.
And so now I'm like basically doing both those.
Peony farming.
Yeah.
For anybody interested. Okay, so you know you want to be an artist. You go to NASCAR?
Yeah, well, first I took animation in Miramichi at the NBCCD. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had an amazing program there. There was people from Disney that taught it, and I was just 18, like fresh out of school, and unsure of so many things, and it was such a dedication, like more than full-time, and I just wasn't ready yet. So I did 3 months, got into the course, and then I was like, whoa, I got psyched out because there's like Disney teachers saying that I'm good at art. I'm like, I'm not sure. So then I moved out west and I snowboarded for a while.
Okay.
I also am sponsored for skateboarding and snowboarding.
I didn't know that. We're going to put that on my list of like things I text people about you. Yeah.
But then I was like snowboarding off like wild cliffs and all of these things, and it wasn't like good for my body probably. It was just like wild, like the level of competition out west and everything. So that's when I decided I needed to go back to drawing. And so I was living in Calgary and Banff, but then I went to ACAD before NASCAD. So ACAD is Alberta College of Art and Design.
Okay.
And yeah, but then each snow day, I was still wanting to go out to the Rockies to snowboard. So I couldn't focus as much as when I finally moved back to Moncton, then to Halifax, and got my bachelor's of fine arts at NASCAD.
And so I did like a little bit of reading up because we've been friends for a few years, but we don't have these big conversations about, I didn't know you were a sponsored snowboarder, for example. So I did a little reading and saw that you did, after NASCAD, you spent some time in Costa Rica. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, we don't talk too much. I usually just talk in emojis.
We just talk in emojis.
So
we compare our favorite emojis. It's good.
So this is the most you'll ever hear me talk. Yeah, right after school, I wasn't sure what to do, and I started hearing about artist residencies. And before Costa Rica, I went to Iceland. Growing up, my brother was always really into Scandinavian culture. So of course, after school, I thought, well, I might as well go to Iceland for a few months. And I got accepted into this artist residency. And while I was in Iceland, I heard about a residency in Costa Rica. And so I basically went from the land of fire and ice over to the jungle. And I was living in a banana jungle, and there was 9-foot boa snakes in my front yard, and I was birthing geckos and
wow.
Well, not myself, but there was there was little oh boy.
Alternate galaxy.
Yeah, my neighbor, he was a peacock farmer from the Teton Mountains and from Idaho. And he said, why don't you just take
Your neighbor in Costa Rica was a peacock farmer. Just every sentence you say is so juicy. Yes, okay, continue.
He'd cook me soup, and he had these little wind-up erotic toys and things, and he'd share stories.
Amazing.
He was just here, take these eggs and put them on your nightside table underneath a warm light, and they'll hatch. And I was like, haha, just joking. And then I put them beside it, and a few days later, I woke up and heard some chirping, and beside me was these big eyes of this little baby gecko looking at me, thinking I was mother gecko.
That must have been so awkward.
It's fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, so you end up back in Moncton. Oh, I'm stuck there. So one of my favorite things about your art is I know it's your art. Wherever I go, I know it's your art, wherever I see it. And if anybody here spent time on the Waterfront Trail, you'll see the opener of the podcast. There's a video of me in front of some of your art that's on the Waterfront Trail that's in a permanent installation there. The patio at the tire shack. I don't need to be told it's yours. It's yours. It's the colors, it's the style, it's the silk screen and the acrylic combo. It's such a signature, and it's the energy that I feel when I look at it. It's really something else. How does one, and maybe you can't answer this, but how does one how do you develop a style like that is so, your every piece is so different, but it's so clearly yours?
Cool, thank you. So growing up, I was very influenced by the 80s and the colors, like Madonna leopard pattern fashion, the bright, the neon colors and bright, wild, like bold graphics. I was skateboarding since I was 5, so the graphics of the skateboards, bold, bright, and wild. I just so inspired by that, and also Alice in Wonderland is like a major inspiration of mine. I loosely live in Alice in Wonderland light, and just the colors.
The gecko, mom, yeah.
Yeah, the colors and everything. But then at NASCAD, I was doing drawings of like creatures and all these different things, and they inspired me to go abstract. And then I started learning about like the colors and shapes and different things, and started creating all these worlds based on like neon, and pastel is my favorite palette to work with. Yeah.
Cool. It's just so clearly, yeah, I just know it's yours. So then how does all of this journey lead us into Moncton Taco Week?
So when it comes back to Costa Rica. Yeah. And I had the choice for Halloween to either go to a Lady Gaga concert in San Jose, Costa Rica, or Mexico for the Day of the Dead festival. And I chose Mexico, and that's where I got this tattoo, one of many. And while I was there, I learned about tacos. Well, I knew about tacos before, but but specifically Mexican street tacos just blew my mind. And I didn't know there was so many different ingredients and all these different things, and soft shell corn tortillas. I thought it was just like the El Paso Sobeys kits growing up.
Right.
But then I learned it was a whole nother world, and so that really inspired me in the taco world. And so once I came back to Moncton, I started cooking more tacos. I have like some people read at night, and I just write like my dream taco journal.
Okay.
I've got like over 100 recipes.
Amazing.
I'm confident with like a few things. Tacos is one of them.
Okay.
And so I'd send pictures to my friend who was living in the Virgin Islands, and she had a taco restaurant. And she said, "You should come work at the restaurant." And I thought she was just joking until I sent another taco picture, and she said, "Again, you should really come work." So I just booked a ticket and moved there, and I was like working at this like boat dock area taco restaurant.
Okay.
Mostly just being served tacos and cocktails.
Right, okay. Taco tester, if you will. Got it.
And it was just so inspiring there. And there's so many hurricanes that happen, and it kind of destroyed that taco bar. But then I didn't know really about insurance. And apparently they had insurance to help rebuild it, but I didn't know about insurance and like different things. Alice in Wonderland world that I live in. I just learned what a mortgage was.
Okay, I can help you with that.
Yeah, thank you. So I had this emotional reaction to like help rebuild their taco bar. I was like gonna help rebuild it from Moncton by raising money through creating a taco menu through all the restaurants in Moncton.
That's why you started Taco Week.
Yeah.
No way.
But then they said, "Oh, save your money. Like we have
insurance."
I was like, "Oh."
Oh my God.
But I was like, "Oh no, it's like ruined. They're never getting it back." And I was like, "Wow, insurance,
Wait a minute.
insurance has that."
They have a restaurant. I have a Taco Week and all this money. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. So how many restaurants did you have when you started Taco Week?
18.
And how many are you up to now?
48.
48.
Yeah.
That's amazing. If anybody, wait, when does it run? March?
May 1st.
May.
Well, May 4th to the
course.
14th.
Of course, because I wore my taco bathing suit. It was May. May 4th to the 14th. And it is an absolute, like, it is the best. Everybody's making tacos in town. You get your little taco sheet. there's a logo, and it's a lobster riding a taco, which was foreshadowing for what we move into next. When you came up with that logo, when you had that logo made, you did not know you were going to be the keeper of the Shediac Lobster.
No, I've always been very loosely based around crustaceans, though.
Okay, fair. I mean, who isn't? Really, who isn't? So can you tell everybody, because I remember when the Shediac Lobster was, Darby needs some time. Okay, so I grew up in Shediac, and I was 10 in 1990 when the lobster was installed. And I remember the lobster being on like a truck and coming down the highway and it being on the paper, and like I do remember this very well. It was such a big deal in town when the lobster was installed. But I didn't know, it just didn't occur to me that an artist held the responsibility of maintaining and like loving the lobster. So that's now your role. Did they know you were always loosely based around crustaceans when they asked you?
They didn't.
They didn't? Are you sure it wasn't the Taco Week logo that reeled them in? Reeled them in?
I love that.
Okay, so yeah, tell us about the lobster.
Okay.
Like most people don't realize that there's an artist assigned to the lobster.
So I'm the artist assigned to the lobster.
There's probably a better way.
There was like an initiation or application.
Okay.
I had to apply to be the master of the lobster.
Okay. Lobster daddy?
Yeah. So Lobster Daddy was just the lobster baby at first. And I was sitting at the lobster one day, and I was like really looking at it and looking how it was painted. Because growing up, I knew it was just a giant lobster. I didn't really take into consideration the brushwork and how it was done. But I was like looking at it very deeply because I like art a bit. And then I went back to my car, and I was sitting there still just like looking at the lobster, and I get an email from PNB, the Acadian Association for Art, and it was a call out saying that the person that was in charge of the lobster for like 20 years, just after Bronham, was retiring, and they were like, we are looking for a lobster painter. And so I was like, sitting there, looking at the lobster, getting this.
Every moment starts to lock into place. The gecko eyes, all of it. Wow.
And so on the list of things that they wanted someone, they're like, you must research it. And I like project lobsters and crabs and starfish on my walls like before I sleep on the wall. So I'm like, I already research it. I'm like, just stop looking for a candidate because it's going to be me.
Right. And did you hear about Taco Week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Do you know how many applicants there were?
A lot, like all over Atlantic Canada. And, but I called some of my friends, like Peter Pounding, Claude Roussel, and who have done amazing things around Moncton. Like Claude did things at the bank, Boar Park, just behind my butterflies, like that statue, and Peter Pounding is also a powerhouse. But yeah, I was like, what should I do? Like, I need this. I want to work with that lobster so bad. And they said, just like call them up. And usually I wouldn't just call up people, but I did. And I just sent them a long application with like my whole crustacean dreams.
Yeah.
And it came down to me and another person. I was like, well, just don't even bother calling that person because I'm going to come be the person.
And that's been how long now?
This was my third year that I did it.
This is your third year.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if it was on social media or on the media, but I remember like a handoff. Was there a period of time where you were working with the former lobster keeper?
Yeah, Monette Leja. She was the original lobster daddy, or mummy.
And was she, and she was the only one before you?
There was one other person for maybe 2 years.
Okay.
After Winston Bronham, but then she was primarily it for many, many years.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you work on it every year? Like, how does that look?
Every summer.
Every summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Very cool. I just find it the whole thing just so interesting. But everybody's gonna be looking at that lobster differently.
Mm-hmm.
I have not ever looked at the lobster the same since I understood the amount of art and time and care that goes into it. So thank you, Lobster Daddy.
Thank you.
It's amazing. So, I asked some questions earlier, and I would love to ask you, what's a local purchase you've made in the last, say, 6 months that you just absolutely love?
Tacos.
Just tacos anywhere. Are you allowed to have a favorite? A favorite taco?
The ones I make.
Fair enough. That we can have access to?
I'll make you tacos.
Fair. You'll make me tacos and lend me a painting.
Yes.
You really love peonies, don't you?
Yeah. I will work for garden flower.
Amazing. Okay, so before we go to audience questions, I just want to ask you how can we support you? How can Moncton support you? What is your wish that people will do?
Buy my paintings.
Buy your paintings. Okay, very good. Number one, buy your paintings. So we're going to link everybody in all of the show notes, so you can find everybody as well. But absolutely.
Yeah, it's always an honor to be part of different collections. I'm so fortunate to have my art in collections all around the world, and Tokyo, Paris. It's wild. I'm so grateful for the career path that I've chosen, and it's like a fantasy, really. But if not buying a painting, you can follow my Instagram. You can link below.
Link below.
Or
also Moncton Taco Week.
And I'm starting a YouTube as well, where you can see my crustacean dreams, and I might.
Everybody's like, where do I get this YouTube? Everybody wants to watch your YouTube right now.
Just YouTube Jared Betts, and you'll find it.
There you go.
And there's one way to show things with pictures and writing about it or talking about it, but another way is with video, as this is with video, and it's a nice way to document what I'm doing, kind of like a visual journey, a journal. And yeah, I've got some really wild plans, like living in giant mushroom hotels in China, or taking a shipping container ship to Tokyo from St. John.
Awesome.
Just a few ideas coming up.
Maybe we'll do a meet me in Moncton offsite. What do you think, Derek? We're gonna go to the mushroom hotels in China and just pop in. Amazing. Do we have any audience questions? Yes.
Yeah, I would love to know, Jared. You've lived all over the place. You've traveled all over the place, but you always seem to come back to Moncton. So what is it about Moncton that keeps bringing you back?
I'm going to repeat the question. I know it's super annoying. I'm sorry. You've traveled all over the world. You've lived in so many places, but you seem to always keep coming back to Moncton. What keeps bringing you back?
Yeah. Just something about the nature and the ocean and our forests here. I'm kind of a little bit like Lassie, except I'm not trapped in a well.
At the moment.
Yeah, at the moment.
Kidding, we don't have plans for
later. And Funday Park. I live in Sussex now, so really close to Funday. Something about it just keeps bringing me back. The people, just being able to start things like Taco Week. There's so many things happening and so many people moving here, and it's not just the drive-through province anymore, it's the destination.
Love that. Very good.
And it's wonderful. I've been fortunate to travel everywhere else, but I keep coming back.
We are glad for that, that's
Thank
for sure. Any other questions? Oh, Rye?
Two-part question. First one would be, what's the most obscure or interesting taco you've come up with in your book of tacos? And the second part, have you thought of releasing this book of tacos?
Okay, I'll repeat those. An audience member with a aggressive mustache has asked, it's my husband, that's a new mustache in our household, has asked, what is the most obscure or interesting taco you have made? And then, would you ever consider releasing a taco recipe book?
Thank you for the question. Also, I like mustaches. I just shaved my beard tonight as well. So
You're sporting a mustache.
It was like either wear a camo hat or mustache, and I went with that.
Great choice.
My tacos aren't as obscure as this one that was in Taco Week. It was Brume de Coude, Chef Michel Savoy. He did a squid ink infused taco that was like purpley black, and like inside was pineapple and shrimp, and it was a really wild one, but it was like really cool. So I don't even know where to get squid ink yet.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like that's happening tonight. I have a feeling.
And I'd love to release a taco book at some time. I'm working on a publication of my book, of my art, from 2010 to 2020, of my adventures and my different art practices. And there's different artists that are doing essays in it. Paul-Edouard Bourque, Terry Graff, and Yvonne Gallant, who are some great great friends of mine. And but yeah, it's I have a new respect for people that create books. I thought it would like get done in one summer, but it's like 5 years later. So, but I'm really enjoying the process, and there might be a couple of taco recipes at the end of that.
That would be, good addition. I saw one over here earlier. Ange?
So first of all, I love your Alice in Wonderland influence, so thank you for sharing that. I would say it's very clear to me that you are amazing at following your intuition and your curiosity. So what advice would you give to people to do more of that?
It's very obvious that you are very good at following your intuition and your curiosity. What advice would you give to other people to help them do that?
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, I'm both human and alien or something. It's like, I just go for it, and there's definitely been a lot of struggle. Like, that's also a reason I like go on these wild adventures, but then I'm like, oh no, I need to move home with my parents again. But now I'm finally finding a lot more success, but it's, I guess, not being afraid of the struggle to reach to your dreams and things like that. Like, I can't even believe the things that I've been fortunate to do, and if I can inspire people, then that feels so good. And I've been fortunate to work with like children with different art projects and things like that as well. And the art career isn't always the most stable at first, but once you go through it, sometimes you just end up on a talk show or getting free peonies. And
of all the things, here we are. Yes.
So from a business international development perspective, how does one launch into the international markets like you have into Hong Kong and these other areas? How do you get known there?
So how does an artist based in Moncton become known, like in business and in art on an international scale? How do you have customers in Hong Kong and all over the world? How does that happen?
it's kind of been a wild domino effect. I've been very fortunate that each show or residency has led to another one. And when I was in Iceland, I met people from Germany who invited me to come stay with them, so I got to show my art in Hamburg. And then from there, I went to London for an art show. I sometimes get art fair emails, and then I just hop on a plane and go. And then when I was in London, there was someone that was saying, "Oh, I'm in Ireland and I'm taking up 3 studios. You should just come over." And then I just end up spending a month in Ireland and eating fish and chips and walking through farm fields with donkeys that like transform into swans. It's that's why I need to write this book, because sometimes it doesn't even seem like real. Like it's just. Yeah, it's been
really hard to imagine.
It's been, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's just as simple as getting an email for something and applying to it. Usually each international travel, there's at least a year-long application process, and there is business that goes into my Alice in Wonderland life, but I like to share the fantasy side of it. But yeah, it's been a mixture of domino effect and different residencies, but also applications, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions for Jared? Thank you so much. You're awesome. Now that we've met in Moncton, let's get to know each other a little bit better. You can join us and our crew and our guests at our exclusive Facebook community. Just go to Facebook and search Meet Me in Moncton Insiders.